All right. Hello, my name is Jeff Holmes, a special agent with the FBI Buffalo office, as DA Schmidt just alluded to. I want to send my condolences to Kayla Hodgkin's friends and families and all the victims whose lives were forever changed by Michael Burham's despicable decision. Today's sentencing of Michael Burham affirms the FBI's commitment to pursuing justice for our victims. Burham tried to escape, but as he found out, the FBI and all of our law enforcement partners will find you. I also want to thank all of our local law enforcement partners who worked this case. It's a true example of how strong our working partnerships are, as well as our dedication to holding criminals responsible. Thank you.
Mr. Schmidt, we weren't able to film or capture the audio from the victim impact statements, but you had a chance to read them and listen to them. What would you take from that?
Just the harm, the extensive amount of harm that has been caused that will last this family forever, and it probably will go on to the next generation. Just children that are still suffering because of the trauma that they experienced inside that home when their mother was killed as they were all asleep. The trauma of losing your loved ones, not just your mother, but your three siblings with whom you've lived, and you have a family, and then to have family court and the system have to break apart this family in order to make sure that each person can live with their biological family. So I would say that in listening to those statements and listening to what Colin had to say himself in describing what it was like to try to protect his younger siblings when he was so afraid himself, it's just overcoming for all of us with emotion that somebody could exact that level of harm against a family for reasons that still boggle the mind.
Could you explain what's going on? Because I know there's a separate case in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
You got 25 to life with the possibility of parole here, or can you explain all that?
Yeah, just to back up for a moment, when Mr. Burham committed the murder here and then fled the jurisdiction, and then he kidnapped the elderly couple in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, he then fled south. We had multiple law enforcement agencies involved. Eventually, he was arrested. Now, we then had to coordinate because we had a pending rape charge that could no longer be prosecuted because the witness had been murdered. We had a kidnapping that had occurred in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and we had crime scene that had a lot of forensic evidence that needed to be processed, and unlike CSI and what we see on TV, these things don't happen within the span of an episode. It takes months to get our lab results back after submission to the New York State Police Crime Lab to determine whether we had picked up any forensic evidence in order to corroborate our suspicions as to who committed this crime. Because of that, we had communicated with our colleagues in Warren, Pennsylvania, and arranged for Pennsylvania to pursue the kidnapping charge first. We were several months behind as we were assembling our case. Some of that evidence went to the FBI for analysis. Eventually, we got everything back and we went into grand jury, but we were several months behind. We ensured that Mr. Burham, to our knowledge, was going to remain in custody, but in any event, because the PA case traveled first, he was convicted and sentenced in Pennsylvania first, and ultimately the sentence on the charges amounted to a low of 25 years and a maximum of 50 years. So coming into our case, as we were nearing trial at our final pre-trial conference, there were efforts made by the court to try to see if the court can achieve any kind of a settlement. We were of the position that a murder to a sentence, which is 25 to life, was insufficient for this individual, and so we did not offer anything that was acceptable to Mr. Burham, and then instead the court indicated to the defense that if Mr. Burham pled to the murder in the first-degree charge, which carries the possibility of life without parole, he would sentence Mr. Burham to the murder 2 sentence of 25 to life, thereby ensuring that he has an opportunity for parole. And then to drive that home, Mr. Burham was that sentence by the judge's commitment was to run concurrent with his Pennsylvania time. So the net effect of all of this is that after all of this, Mr. Burham goes back to Pennsylvania, serves his time. Once he's released, he still is subject to DOC's control, and he still has the possibility of remaining behind bars as the parole board periodically considers his, his parole release applications. And it's our effort and goal here to keep him inside for the rest of his life.
So he goes back to a Pennsylvania prison? He doesn't spend any time in the Chautauqua County jail?
Until he completes his obligations to the Commonwealth, and then he'll be transferred back to New York State, where he immediately enters the prison system here under DOC's control. And then after processing, he may be, subject to parole release, which means that his matter will be scheduled before a parole board for review. And today's sentencing proceeding was designed to provide as much information about the crimes that were committed here, the harm that was caused, and the type of individual this is, so that parole will hopefully deny all future applications. So it's our intention that if he is still alive after completing his Pennsylvania obligations, that he be incarcerated for the rest of his natural life here in New York State.
Is there any chance he gets paroled out of Pennsylvania?
After serving a minimum of 25 years, my understanding is he would be subject to parole or review at that point. And then it would max out at 50 years, pursuant to that state's sentence.
So the soonest he would be back in Chautauqua would be 25 years then?
Correct.
But if it's 25 to life, then like how does that work?
Yeah, so, and if I wasn't clear, I apologize. So what'll happen is that he'll serve his time, and once Pennsylvania is through with him, he comes back here. And let's say he serves 30 years, well, he's got a sentence of 25 to life here, so he'll have to be processed, go through the intake process in the state correctional facilities, and then once he's assigned to a facility, his case will be scheduled for parole review.
Immediately.
Yes, but I mean, yes. But the reality is it may take months, it may take a little bit longer, but yes. And then at that point, it's up to the parole board to periodically review any applications for release at that point. So theoretically, he could be released immediately once upon the first review. We would expect that that is not going to happen on a murder 1 conviction under these circumstances, but he then has the potential for remaining behind bars until he dies.
Speaking of that, to rewind a little back to court, you spent a large amount of time, I guess, laying out the case that the parole board would have to consider at that point. Why was that important to you? And can you, I guess, boil down what impact that would have on a parole board's decision?
It has always been our goal that Mr. Burham die in prison, that he never be released again. He deserves to be punished. Society deserves to be safe. The world needs to know that, from a deterrent standpoint, that law enforcement will not tolerate this type of behavior and the affront to the criminal justice system that occurred here. I was not happy with the judge's sentencing commitment. The judge felt that that was appropriate under the circumstances that the judge placed on the record. I respect that. My job is to ensure that justice is served, and our opinion collectively, when I say us, meaning law enforcement, the police involved in this, the prosecutors that were involved in this, the family that has suffered from all this, is that Mr. Burham remain behind bars. I couldn't achieve that completely on the front end because sentencing was not within my discretion after Mr. Burham pled to the top count of our indictment. But I certainly can deal with it on the parole side on the back end to ensure, as best as we can, that he stays in prison.
I'm sorry, one more time. Can you reiterate the importance of these victim impact statements? Obviously, there is no trial, so is this really the only time that we've really heard from the family that was impacted, and obviously taking away the nuts and bolts of the case this is where the real emotion comes into play.
Yes, even if we had held a trial, the information that was conveyed to the court in the victim impact statements would have no place in the courtroom, and it should not be part of the evidentiary presentation that the jurors are exposed to, because it deals with the after effects. It doesn't deal with the issues of guilt or not guilt. That was resolved when Mr. Burham entered his plea of guilty to murder one. So now that we are past that and we're in the sentencing phase, which includes a parole board's consideration of the conduct that occurred here, we felt it was important, and our sentencing guidelines and sentencing statutes speak of the importance of hearing from the victim concerning the impact that the crime had on that person. Where that person is dead, is a victim of a murder, the law allows for family members to speak. And in our case, we also felt that there were secondary victims to all of this, and that's Kayla's children. And we had asked the court to permit Kayla's loved ones, including her oldest son, to speak, because Colin at this age is now, nearing adulthood, and we felt he was in the best possible position to speak on behalf of himself and his two younger siblings.
Right, and for our viewers, I mean, aside from the nuts and bolts of the case, this is really the only time that they can see that there are people hurting. I mean, there are a lot of family members who are grieving and maybe in the same situation themselves.
That's right. Sometimes courts aren't aware of the residual impact that a crime could have on our victims in this world. In this case, it just couldn't have been worse. You have three kids that all live together with their mother. They've lost their mother. The memory of their mother is forever scarred by what occurred to her from this animal. And then we also have, the loss of this entire family unit. Each of these kids are now living in separate households, and it's not easy to facilitate visitations between them. So we wanted the court and certainly the parole board in the future to be aware of the harm that was caused to these children, and will forever be they will suffer with it. I don't know how we can expect them to recover from the trauma they've experienced.
Can you talk about, you addressed this in court about how Kayla did everything right. She went to the police and she bravely was going to testify, and that's why she was killed. I mean, how do you assure future victims that they'll be safe? Have you changed anything?
This is the difficulty, in that Kayla, was seeking help from the police because this event had occurred in which she was raped, and she didn't know what to do because she was afraid of this individual. Mr. Burham scared her and confused her, and she didn't understand. She recognized that he just, he wasn't making any sense in his communications with her through the text messages, and she recognized that by standing up for her rights, for what occurred to her, she was going to experience some type of wrath from Mr. Burham. She didn't know what. Now, the police did everything that they were supposed to do. Officer Ward met with Kayla, spent time with her. There's a very moving video of Kayla crying and trying to understand what had happened, and Officer Ward trying to console her as best as possible as Kayla was moving in the direction of providing a supporting deposition to underlie a rape charge. Eventually, she did do this. The difficulty that we have here is that we have no ability to obtain an order of protection and to protect victims of crimes until, at least from the criminal justice system standpoint, until that charge is filed, which it was, the arrest warrant is effectuated and executed, and we were in the process of looking for Mr. Burham and attempting to pick him up when he committed his crime. So he was out there before he was even picked up on the rape charge, preparing for what he was about to do, stalking this family, and he was the wolf at the door on March 11th, 2023.
Can you explain again how he found out?
So what happens in our community is that as charges come in, the city of Jamestown, through its police department, issues what they call their top 10 most wanted list. It's a way of communicating with the world that we have people out there for whom there are arrest warrants and bench warrants, and we're seeking them. And it's a way of actually also publicizing even to these individuals that they should come forward. And so Mr. Burham's name, along with the charge underlying the arrest warrant, was placed in our local newspaper, the Post-Journal. And based on everything that we've learned, listening to his communications following his arrest, it's clear to us that that is the day that he realized that there was a warrant out for him, May 6, 2023, and by May 7th, he was already purchasing the ammo that he was going to use to kill her. If there's nothing further, I thank all of you. I do want to just mention, obviously we've talked about Kayla's family and everything that these kids have gone through. Jamestown Police Department worked very hard together with a number of different agencies. I would say that so much credit goes to the investigators of JPD, to the FBI, to Agent Homza for his work on this, which spans across states. He was down there in South Carolina, part of the team that arrested Mr. Burham after he was on the lam. He was the first to interview Mr. Burham. So we owe it to our to all our law enforcement partners on the federal side. Certainly Pennsylvania, PSP, Pennsylvania State Police, developed evidence that shared with us. The City of Warren Police Department, the Warren County DA's office. These agencies were more than cooperative with us. They worked hand in hand with us and ensured that we were able to put our case together as they worked on their side with a parallel prosecution for the kidnapping that occurred here. And we have to recognize their contributions to all of this. I've said this before because we live in an era where these things go on, and these cases travel through the criminal justice system at some type of slow motion speed, that justice delayed is not the same as justice denied. We were going to work this case in one way or the other. We were going into trial. We were ready. We had been working, all of us together with the evidence, prepping for trial since well before, January, when the trial was initially scheduled for. Since probably early in the summer, we were working on this case. So when Mr. Burham entered his plea, it was just days before justice was going to be served through the trial of this action. And although I'm glad he entered his plea to save the family, the stress that they've got, they would have to go through, I was not happy with the sentencing commitment from this court, because this family, these law enforcement personnel, all of us as a society need to ensure that an individual like this stays locked up for the rest of his life, and that's what we're committed to do going forward. Thank you for everything.
Quickly,
Yeah.
with the caveat that you can never predict what somebody might do, is JPD, I don't know if Officer Ward can speak to this, perhaps changing their policy or how the handling domestic violence cases are published if there is a warrant out, given how this played out?
So the answer to that would be no, we don't change that necessarily. However, I want to point out that in Project Crossroads, when we meet with a domestic violence victim, we do offer beyond just the criminal justice system. We offer services. We work really closely with lots of domestic violence providers in the area. In this case, those services were offered, and nobody can predict what someone's going to do to them. So my warning to anybody in a domestic violence situation is take every precaution you can. And I'm very sorry for Kayla's family.
Thank you. I want to recognize also now retired Lieutenant Robert Ward. I recall that night, and he was there at the door when I arrived on scene. And looking at his body camera footage, not knowing what they were getting themselves into, without hesitation, they just charged right into the scene, not knowing if there was a gunman there. And not only did he have to protect these children and make sure that they were safe, but they had to make sure that that house was clear, that the neighborhood and the community was safe from immediate harm. And you cannot overemphasize what the first responders go through in these situations. emotions. And so I think Lieutenant Ward, because of that, you know, needs to be recognized. And because he was there to protect that family, I think it's worth noting that he has his own, developed his own relationship with Colin, you know, where Colin relies on him and has relied on him for support throughout this process when we had to talk with the family, prep everyone for trial. And so I appreciate Lieutenant Ward's commitment and Jamestown's commitment to the personal relationships that you must have with the victims of crime in order to help them along through traumatic events and through the prosecution process. Thank you very much.